Alrighty, good evening everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana Weather. Thanks for logging on to my latest long range forecast update. It is a little shy of 8 p.m. here on the 13th of January 2015. The month is already flying by, folks. We're sponsored tonight by Metal Magic in Washington. Give Chad a call at 698-8555 for all of your paintless tin repair needs. And of course, folks, be sure to tell them Southern Indiana Weather sent you. All right. We've had a pretty cloudy, gloomy day around here. Clouds just sort of hung around. I forecasted partly sunny. Well, we had a few breaks in the clouds here and there, but by and large, it stayed really more of a overcast day most of the day, maybe more of a mostly cloudy. And, we're probably going to have a few of those around coming up. Bottom line is we're just sort of stuck in a rut. In regards to the cloud pattern, it'll break down, I believe, a little bit overnight. But it's certainly not going to be a crystal clear sky by any means. Let me show you why and what we got going on. Basically, what we've got right now, as we take a look at the jet stream in the upper levels of the atmosphere, here's pretty well where we're at right now. What I want you to see, basically, we've got going on what we meteorologists call a split flow. The jet stream is entering in over here, and boy, it's just roaring over here off the Pacific coast, and then it really just sort of splits into two branches of the jet stream. And notice how it's sort of coming here. Here in the middle, we've got a cutoff low pressure over here, and in fact, we've had some low pressure over here as well. And basically, what you got going on is we're sort of sandwiched in between the two of these flows of the jet stream, with the northern branch up here, the southern branch down here, and we've got one low that's moved in, and we've got another low that'll come in and have the chance of maybe bringing a little bit of moisture with it later this week, but it's not a very strong chance by any means. But we're sort of sandwiched in the middle of those right now, and that's going to give us a pretty good deal of clouds and not a whole lot of sunshine. Maybe a partly sunny sky is probably about the best we can expect until maybe Friday. As I put this into motion, we'll see the jet stream continue to move. We stay in that split flow for a good little while until finally the weekend comes and we start to get a more unified look to the jet stream. In fact, by the time Sunday hits, we've got a pretty deep trough coming over us in the jet stream. In fact, some indications are now saying that we might even fight some snow shower chances on Sunday. It doesn't look like accumulating snow to me at this point, folks. Looks like temperatures will be way too warm, and it looks like a pretty minor snow event anyway at that. But the chance of it would still be there. And then as we move on, we start to go early next week, you notice, into a more east and west flow. We call this a zonal flow. Pacific air comes our way, and so that would be more of a milder look to it, with temperatures likely in the low 40s. But as you start to end the period, we start to have that dip in the jet stream nearing our way, so that by the time next Thursday and Friday comes, it looks like we actually could end up with a significant storm system of some shape coming up. The question is going to be, will it be rain or will it be snow? Well, we'll have to sort of analyze that. We'll talk about it. Let's talk about the pattern at hand first, folks. By and large, the pattern at hand is evolving into one that will be favorable for a colder and snowier look. Now, folks, as we have looked at these all winter long, what we have noticed is several times we have come into this pattern where we can say, oh, this looks favorable for snow, and then most of the time it's just not panned out. So what I'm going to show you is a favorable look for snow coming up, but it is not a guarantee by any means, so keep that in mind. If you're familiar with these indices, you'll know these look good. The Arctic Oscillation, our friend the AO, going negative here. Watch here as we get closer to the end of the month, around the 21st to the 23rd time frame. The Arctic Oscillation gets strongly negative here, and basically that's Arctic air from Canada on the move, available to be pumped in down to here. If you have a strongly positive PNA will be pumped down into here, and that's what we're going to see is that that indicates basically a ridge over the western portions of the United States, puts a trough over us and allows that Arctic Oscillation, that cold air on the move, to come down towards us. The key in it all is whether we have a negative NAO. Whenever we have a negative North Atlantic Oscillation, we can get a blocking pattern set up over in the Atlantic Ocean, and essentially what that does is it shuts systems down from moving out to sea and says, no, sorry, the Atlantic is closed for business. That slows the storm systems down considerably. That gives them a chance to dump more moisture over one location because they are not as fast moving, but it also gives them a better storm track chance for us as well. So, and you can see right here around this time frame, we've got a negative NAO potentially strongly coming into place. So we'll see. Does that necessarily pan out or not? Well, it's been forecast at times to go negative and hasn't, so we're just going to have to see. All right. The other thing that we would take a look at too is our MJO forecast, the Madden-Julian oscillation. I've talked about this a handful of times, but remember it goes into different phases. Whenever we go into phase 7, 8, 1, or 2, that's the cold phase, and that's when we could get those potential winter storms moving in. Well, we're currently right here in phase 6, which is partially the result of what we've got right now going on, where temperatures have been are starting to moderate back a little bit. We've been pretty cold, but we're starting to moderate back in. We're going more into that cold phase again as we head the longer in time. If you're inside of the circle, it's a weak MJO. If you're outside the circle, it's a strong MJO. When it gets to a strong MJO, it actually has a chance of being the dominating factor in your forecast. And so the chance here is that it doesn't always pan out, though, by the way, because you can see it very strongly, MJO in the warm phase for us for where we've been here, and this was the time frame that we were below zero. So it doesn't always work out exactly perfect here. It's just the potential. The MJO is one piece of the equation, but whenever you've got the MJO going into a cold phase here and potentially into a strongly negative, a strong MJO in the cold phase, if you can lock that in place with other factors like these to work together rather than against each other, then you can get the potential for some winter storm systems coming along. So that's something that we'll keep in mind. They're already starting to show up now in the modeling. So let me just sort of show you what's going on here. Next few days, as I said, as I put this into motion, not a whole lot really going on this week. By the time you head to this weekend, here comes Saturday night, low pressure cell right here. There's a trailing cold front with it. Not a very strong chance of any precipitation with this until you reach overnight on Saturday night into Sunday. And you notice the blue line south of us, second blue line right over us. This would indicate the this is the European model. European model here would indicate some light snow showers possible on Sunday. Right now, it's the only model that is indicating those light snow showers on Sunday. Earlier today, the GFS was indicating it, but in its latest run, it sort of backed off and pretty much dried it up. But it is not a strong chance. I went ahead and worded it in the forecast with a slight chance of some light snow showers. But again, I don't think anything would accumulate. Temperatures are going to be near 40 for a high on Sunday. Wouldn't be anything to worry about. It would just be pretty if it did fall. And for you snow lovers, at least it would be something. So there's a chance of it, but it's not a big chance. The bigger chance would come next week, of course, as the parameters that I showed you, the AO, NAO, the PNA, the MJO, as all those start to go more in alignment with each other where we could have the potential for something, well, that's when we could get a bigger storm system develop, but there's a lot of questions with that. Here we are by Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon, here we go, and we're starting to see some of that precipitation move in. It would be sort of a rain or snow type of setup here according to the European model. But then you've got this next storm system down to our south that develops, and notice the European model takes it entirely to the south. That is one interpretation of it. Let me switch to a better model view here. This is a lot easier to understand. I just don't have this model view that I could use for you on the European model. But on the GFS and the Canadian, I certainly can. And let me back this up a little bit, and here's what we've got going on. By the time a week from tomorrow comes along, the Wednesday, we've got a storm system developing down here in Texas that moves to our area. It's going to be the track of the low pressure again. That's going to be critical. But notice the chance here as it moves along towards us would be for a rain or a snow type of a setup. This would be a rain going to a snow type of setup if the GFS is to be believed there. The potential is still there. I would note for you that the Canadian model shows something very similar. It is on the very far end of what the Canadian sees right now. The Canadian model only goes out 240 hours, and that next Friday, right, is the 240 hours. So it doesn't have us over snow yet, but you can see it has the low pressure down here to our south and a low pressure sort of right over us. The energy, though, is being transferred from this one to a stronger one down to the south. So if anything, that would be a bad sign and sort of take away the energy from us. But this could potentially be a rain going to a snow kind of a setup on the way the Canadian looks as well. So do we believe it yet at this point out? Well, how many times have we seen snow come up in the modeling and it looks good, and then it becomes an all rain event, or it just fizzles away and becomes absolutely nothing? We've seen that all winter season. We've only had one good winter storm this season back on November 15th, 16th, right around in there. And outside of that, we haven't really had any accumulating snow to speak of here in southern Indiana outside of a light dusting, and that's about it. So it has been a snow drought for us by far. The chances are increasing, though, in the modeling. So it's not a guarantee, but snow lovers, if you're out there wanting some, at least there's some promising things in the modeling. It's about all we can say, though, right now. It is not a guarantee at this point, and we'll take it one day at a time. Let's go ahead and look at your next 10 days, folks. You can go to southernindianaweather.com, click on 10-day forecast. Get this, a very cold night coming up, down to about 13 tonight. Only up to 28 tomorrow, partly sunny. That may be even overdoing it. It may end up being more of a mostly cloudy day. We'll just have to see how things pan out again. It's going to be pretty gloomy either way you look at it. Slow warming trend begins to the mid-30s on Thursday, into the low 40s by the time you hit Friday, mid to upper 40s by Saturday. Wouldn't be surprised if we even pushed near the 50-degree mark. Some of the models are wanting to take us near 50, but I've not wanted to put it in yet. I'm just not 100% buying that we get that warm yet. But regardless, it's going to be a big change compared to where we're at right now, stuck in the 20s. It'll feel pretty nice. Then by the time Sunday comes along, yeah, we do have a slight chance for some light snow showers, but nothing too big there. Again, I wouldn't expect any accumulation out of that. With a high around 40, though, nothing would stick even if it did. We just hang out in the low 40s at least to start the week, with some rain chances moving in both on Tuesday, possibly there for Wednesday as well. But again, the modeling is split on that, so we'll have to see. The bigger storm starts to move in on Thursday night, really, and then into Friday. And again, will that be a rain or a snow type of setup? It is too early at this point to find out, folks. We'll just have to track that and see how it goes over the next 10 days. At least a more active pattern is starting to set up as we end the 10-day period. You're certainly not going to see an active pattern this week. It's just going to be cold with a slight warming trend to a nice mild weekend. But after that, next week becomes more of an active type of setup. Again, one day at a time, folks. We'll take it. That's all we can do. All right, that is it for this update, folks. I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite for Southern Indiana Weather. Hope you've had a great week already, and we'll see you next time.